Hey everybody, my name is Bobby Borg and we are talking about business basics for musicians, and I'm hanging out with independent artist Lisa Chacho. How are you doing, Lisa?
Pretty good, Bobby.
Today what I want to talk about is I want to talk about types of business relationships. And what that means is band memberships, solo artists, independent contractors, and freelance musicians. And one of the things that I wanted to flesh out is being in a band and everything that goes along with being in a band. I mean, I've been in bands ever since I was 12 years old, so I know the challenges about being in a band. And you are also in a band right now as well, right?
Well, actually, I'm trying to get a band together, but it's kind of hard. As an independent artist, I'm used to playing by myself. I have a couple songs I've written, but it's kind of like, how do you even start when you want to get a band together,
Right. I mean, there's a lot of different challenges that go along with being in a band. I mean, and one of the biggest challenges, first and foremost, is actually finding the right band members. So it's really important. I'm not talking about necessarily like go hang out at the jam session or go ask friends or go ask for referrals at like your most local music store or something. I mean, I'm talking about, one step, further than that, and that would be having some sort of criteria for actually, picking your members. So I mean, what I'm talking about is like, it's not enough just to find somebody that actually plays guitar well or maybe looks the part. I mean, you've got to go one step further than that. I mean, in other words, does this person expect to hang out, let's just say in a city like Los Angeles for the next 4 or 5 years? I mean, do I want to start a band with someone that's actually only going to be, in LA for the next year, and then they're going to start complaining about traffic and, and things and want to go back home? So, I mean, these are very, very important issues. The other thing is actually just, work ethic. I mean, does this person want to work?
Right.
I mean, we've got rehearsal Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday from like 7 to 10. Are you going to learn the songs and show up on time and have a great attitude? I mean, all of this is very, very important, right?
Right.
So the idea is like, you're not going to ask, or go down this list of criteria with people like, on the first day. I mean, it's like, you can obviously give, a little time for the relationship to kind of, to grow a little bit. But then at some point you have to say, hey, listen, we are going to be serious about this. How do you feel about this? What is your vision? Do you share the same vision as us? Do you have the equal desires that we have to make this thing a reality? So that's very, very important.
Yeah.
So other things would be like having some sort of timetable of goals together as well. So,
okay.
And that's just simply, that's a really important one. That is kind of like, mapping out like in quarter one, let's just say for the first 3 months, what we're going to do is we're going to write 10 songs. Then we're actually going to go into the studio and record them. Then we're actually going to get a photographer and we're going to get photos done. And then in the next, quarter, we're actually going to then get our website built. And then we're actually going to start to perform out live and we're going to start booking shows. And then in the next quarter, you say we're going to try to hit the road, So that way it can flush out whether or not everybody's expectations are the same. One person might say, you know what? That's a little too much for me. I was thinking about finishing school and I don't want to be away from home and I've got this job I'm comfortable with. It really kind of helps to flush out problems. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And then also another important thing is, and tell me if this is kind of an issue with you, is, sometimes when you are working with other people, they have like a little bit of a different idea about what the relationship is. So for example, is it a band or is it, your solo career?
Right.
So, and so it's important to have a band membership agreement, and that would mean essentially, a couple very, very important issues like the band name. Like, what are we going to do with the band name? If you or I were in a group together and we built equity and value in a band name, and then all of a sudden we got into a confrontation, we want to split, who gets the right to that name? Important thing, right?
Well, how do you figure that out?
Well, essentially by putting together an agreement, a simple band membership agreement, I talk about actually in Business Basics for Musicians, might include the following things. Like, number one, voting. Like when we have particular issues, how are we going to vote? Is it majority or unanimous vote? I'm talking about if you have 4 people in a band, let's just say, for example, right? Division of income. That's another very, very important thing. How are you going to split up, the music publishing? The rights and the songs is usually one of the biggest aspects. The band name. Probably the best way to kind of flush that out would be to say that, everybody has a right to the name, essentially as the group, but any leaving member is not allowed to use actually the name. Now if the band breaks up, and maybe somebody wants to use it, then they have to get, the permission of all of the other people to write off on it. So
Right.
that might be one way that it's handled. So there's a number of different ways that you can handle this, but definitely, you want to get things flushed out in a band membership agreement. It can be very, very informal. You don't have to have an attorney draft it out in detail, but certainly you want to understand the types of things that you're putting into the agreement, and then maybe later on you can go to an attorney and get it flushed out. So important stuff. So moving on to the next thing, I think what we should talk about is pro teams in the next segment. Your manager, your attorney, your producer, etc. So definitely make sure to come back, you guys, and check out the next clip. Thanks so much.